Hello everybody, welcome back to Hard Enduro Media. Just a quick update now on the lightweight adventure bike project. But firstly, this is Rory, next door neighbour Scott. He likes to make a bit of a nuisance of himself, and he's just invited himself into this video presentation. Haven't you, mate? We'll put him down. Come on, jump off. Alright, so yeah, just a quick update on the lightweight adventure bike project. In the last video, we were just about ready to take the bike for on MOT. Well, it passed its MOT flying colours, and since then we've been out on a couple of trail rides, and we've just identified a few areas what needed some fine tuning. Firstly, the adventure spec universal mini fairing. The shape of the fairing, initially it had two wings on the outer edges, bottom and lower edges, and those, on the left hand side particularly, was starting to catch on the brake hose. So what we've done is we've trimmed off the wings on both sides, and that's alleviated that problem. That's sorted it out. So as far as any further modifications go on the universal fairing, it's pretty much done. It's working. It is a universal fairing as in the description, so if you are buying one of these, be prepared to sort of make a few slight modifications to it to suit your bike. The second thing I looked at, what are you doing, Rory? There you go. That's it. The second problem we identified whilst riding it on trails recently was the suspension. It was just too soft, particularly for my weight and the fact that we're going to be carrying potentially some luggage as well. We've got a toolkit on the back. We're now carrying extra fuel as well. Stock springs which it had in are for a 75 to 85 kilo rider. I'm 105 kilos, so we need to beef it up a little bit really. So we've put heavier springs in. We've just gone one spring rate above my weight. You coming back in? Go on then. And yeah, we've gone one spring rate above to compensate for any additional luggage. So we've gone for the 115 to 125 spring rating. Excuse me while I let the cat out. Come on. So the cat's gone now. So yeah, where were we? We've gone for the 115 to 125 kilo spring rating for the bike, and the bike rides so much better, riding in the optimum part of the stroke, and it tracks really well. It does ride like a brand new bike now, it really does. So that's the suspension sorted and the fairing. The next thing we looked at after a trail ride around North Yorkshire was the gearing. Now the gearing was at 1450. I wasn't quite happy with that, having sort of done about 100 miles on it. I've decided to go for 1448, so I've just made it a little bit taller. It gives it a little bit more top end. It now allows the bike to sort of cruise along between sort of 50 to 60 miles an hour without stressing the engine too much. And it still gives you enough bottom end in first and second gear for some tighter technical type of riding. The other modification we've done is we have put lock-on grips on, KTM lock-on grips. Again, it just made things a lot simpler when you're changing grips. A lot of people have asked the question, can lock-on grips work with a Domino throttle? And that's what I've got on here, Domino throttle. When you buy lock-on grips, you will get 3 cams, as you will know. The biggest of the cam, all I've done is shape that to the same shape as what the Domino throttle tube was, and it works. So I dare say that is a modification you could do on a newer bike, a TPI bike. So that's where we are at the moment. We've ironed out the issues identified on the first trail ride: suspension, gearing, lock-on grips, and the fairing as well. Everything works as it should do. The only sort of update I might do next is get some different graphics on and put an exhaust guard in it as well. That's the only 2 things I will sort of add to this bike now. I'm happy with the way the bike's turned out. Overall, I think I've invested just under £1,000 with the things that I put on it, with the rack, the Lucioli tubes, chain guide and block, and mini fairing. I already had the tank, so that didn't cost me anything, and just some additional service items. But other than that, the bike is still a low cost, lightweight adventure bike. If you've got an old bike at home, something like this is what you could do with it. This is giving the bike a little bit of purpose. It's no longer any good to me for hard enduro. It's not got electric start, but for trail riding It is absolutely perfect. The bike rides like a brand new bike now, and I'll quite happily go on a 100, 150 mile, 200 mile trail ride on this, no problem at all, I really would. So what else is happening that you might ask? Well, I'm still on furlough from the shop. I'm hoping to be back in the shop on a part-time basis in September at Eurotek. Event-wise, there are events taking place or planned to be taking place, and that is Lagares, Hispania, Red Bull Romaniacs and Sea to Sky. I won't be going to any of those events. I've decided, or me and my wife decided between us, that travel-wise we're going to sit out because of what's going on with COVID-19. We've seen in the last week that when you're travelling to Spain, you've got to come back to the UK, you've got to have 14 days quarantine. That's no good for anybody. I don't want to be booking things or planning things and then having something like that dropped on me at the last minute. So I've decided to sit things out for the moment. At the very earliest, I might go to Madron in Portugal. First time the event's going to be run in Porto, moving from the Algarve up north, and Paolo from the Lagares team will be assisting them run that event. So I'm really looking forward to that event taking place and hopefully getting involved in being a part of that event as well. So that is pretty much up to date at the moment with what's going on. But going back to the lightweight adventure bike, really love it, really enjoying it. It's something I wanted to do for a while, and if you remember how the concept of this bike came about in episode 1, well, I'll tell you now, the 500 has been ordered. I've sold a few things to make a small pot of money for that 500, and hopefully we'll get the 500cc KTM EXC in September, where we're starting an adventure rally project. So stay tuned, hard enduro media at Eurotek Ktm. See you soon.